Sports Talk. It is Monday, and it is Football Monday. So we thank you for tuning in. Real quick, we're going to talk about some things that are going on around the NFL, and it's a lot of good stuff going on. A lot of great play out of a lot of teams. And we're going to get into this topic that I wanted to get into last week. Sorry about the schedule last week. We only did a few shows. Pretty busy around here, but we're back at it, and we're going to try to be as consistent as we can. So we're going to talk about this officiating issue as well. It's got to change, and I'm going to give some thoughts on what I think needs to be done to change it. But first, let's get into these things around
the NFL.
Oh, it's hot. It's super hot around the NFL. First and foremost, come on, Tom Brady. You really going to tell us that you had to knock off a little rust? I mean, really? You call like possession, like the first three possession, touchdown, knocking off a little rust? All right. I'm just telling you that this guy's going to be angry, and we've seen what happens to the Patriots every time they face some kind of adversity, whether it's being called cheaters, whether it's the Spygate, whether it's Deflategate now. I feel sorry for any of the opponents that have to go up against them. I thought Cleveland, they're a product of their coach in Hugh Jackson, but they didn't stand a chance yesterday. Tom is Tom, and he doesn't look like Father Time is going to get a hold of him anytime soon. So what a great performance by them. Now we look over quickly at the Dallas Cowboys. Quite interesting to see Dak Prescott butcher, and I mean butcher, the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I know they had a rough week. I think it was the Thursday night game where they didn't perform very well, but they're a lot better team than that. But I will say I think Cincinnati is slightly, and I mean slightly, overrated when it comes to their performance on the offensive side of the ball. I never have been a fan of the Andy Dalton, and Andy is, one trick pony. He's very inconsistent, and they did an excellent job of containing AJ Green. They made them look really bad. Really bad. And how about that Ezekiel Elliott, huh? Incredible. Finally looks like he's starting to get comfortable behind their offensive line. I'd say for the first 3 weeks, maybe sometimes even in the fourth week, you'd see him not be as patient, hitting the holes very, very quickly, a little bit too quick, and didn't even have time to develop. And I think he's starting to learn how to do that. Offensive line did an excellent job yesterday of securing blocks and really opening up space for Ezekiel Elliott. And we see what he can do in the open field. And then once again, Dak Prescott is interception free through 5 weeks, and the Dallas Cowboys are 4-1. Yeah, I said it. Dallas Cowboys are 4-1, ladies and gentlemen. Crazy, isn't it? Super crazy, but that's why they play the games. I know it's early, but Dallas fans should be super excited. Super excited. I know I would be. I know I would be. So tonight we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers. No Cam Newton. I don't think that makes much of a difference tonight. I don't think it makes much of a difference by any means. I think it's going to be a better game for Carolina in Carolina. But I will say this, though. You're going to find that Jameis Winston and this football team are going to do what teams have done in the past couple of weeks, and that's press this Carolina Panthers secondary. They're going to put a little pressure on them, try to test them deep. And when you can get this team, get their defense kind of running and get your offense running, it seems like this Carolina Panthers team has a hard time catching up with that. They seem to get wore down. They seem to get tired out. Now, with that being said, with no Cam Newton, don't expect don't expect for this team to lay down. Don't expect for this team to lay down, uh, even though um, Cam is out. These guys are still going to fight. I like what Fozzie Wazzy was a bear Whitaker does. They still have Greg Olson. They still have Calvin Benjamin. I think this is going to be an interesting game. Very interesting game for a Monday nighter. But with that being said, I'm going with the Tampa Bay Bucks. I think they're going to bounce back a little bit. We know all Jameis Winston does is win, win, win. And even if he doesn't have Doug Martin in the backfield, I like the outside threats with the tight end, Cameron, Brayton. They still have Vincent Jackson. You got Mike Evans. Humphreys is also he's a threat as well. And I think this not only will this Tampa Bay offense get back on track, but this defense will get back on track. And right now, Atlanta is running away with this thing with 4 wins. So somebody's got to get a win, and one of these teams is going to get a win tonight. And I believe that is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, Washington Redskins fans, you would think that this team is like 0-5 with the way that the fan base is acting. Uh, After a very gutsy win against the Ravens, or as Doc Walker would say, the Crows. Gutsy win. Do I like what Kirk Cousins did in that game? Absolutely not. Thought he was keeping his eyes in the short field within the 10-yard to 12-yard range. Very seldom, only on maybe 2 shots where they made it obvious that they were going at Deshaun Jackson. I thought they could have done more. It was a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of defense, and they got it done, turned it up in the second half, really got after it, made life difficult for Flacco and that offense. And you can go either way. Was it a conservative play calling on the Ravens' part? Yeah, you could kind of say that, but Redskins defense got after it. Now, what the Redskins defense needs to do going forward, is they absolutely have to tackle better. What the problem is these arm tackles. I think we saw some from Duke Iheanacho a few times, missing tackles because of arm tackles. You can't have that. You can't have those type of tackle. You have to square up, and you have to proper form it and tackle these guys, especially these big running backs. I mean, hitting them up high with the arm tackle ain't gonna work unless you got somebody following through to take them out. That's not gonna bring guys down at all. And we see guys running through tackles, and that was in the Cleveland game had happened, and it happened in the Ravens game as well, just not as often. And they began to tighten it up in the second half, and that was something that really helped them down the stretch of that football game. And it resulted in Mark Trestman hitting the bricks. And so, you know, we've seen coaches changes with the Bills change of their offensive coordinator work to their favor. I didn't think it was the right move, but it has worked. They are winning ball games now, so got a little life in that football team after that. So maybe that'll work in the same favor for the Baltimore Ravens. Now let's take a look at this officiating issue that we've been facing throughout this season. We still can't seem to figure out what a catch is. We still don't know what the difference between illegal contact is and a pass interference is. And if you remember last week, Washington Redskins fans and Cleveland Browns fans especially know we had the fumble by Duke Johnson, which was recovered by Mason Foster. Now, there was a scrap for the ball. There was a scrap for the ball, and out emerges Johnson with the football. But the officials had signaled that Washington should retain and will retain the football. Now, I don't know about you, but I thought that when a player was to retain or to possess a football, that they were the ones who would have the ball. Like, you have to actually come out of the pile with the ball in order to possess the ball. Am I not correct here? Now, of course, the NFL comes up with this cockamamie excuse from Michael Shanor, and it says the on the field ruling was a fumble recovered by Washington. Now, it was confirmed as a fumble in the instant replay without the need to stop the game. As to the recovery, several different angles were looked at, but with nothing definitive shown, there was no need to stop the game because the on the field ruling that awarded possession to Washington would have stood. And my answer to that is, with all this technical advancement that we have, all these camera angles and couch potatoes, Monday morning quarterbacks can see that on the field that Duke Johnson emerges with the football in hand. And you mean to tell me there's not any visual evidence that would have overturned that call? Am I missing something here? See, this is where we continue to have this conversation about there being clear, conscientious education by the NFL for the NFL officials. Continuous improvement. Does that, if it means that they need to be full time, then so be it. But the elephant in the room here is that there are calls that are being made in games that are potentially costing teams points or awarding teams with the opposing team with points, or it's costing teams games. Now, I'm not saying that fumble would have made the deciding factor or been the deciding factor in that football game, but they definitely were on a drive in the fourth quarter to be able to put points on the board and to make a case. Kind of goes along with the, these made up rules of shooting a bow and arrow. I didn't even know that was in the rule book. Unsportsmanlike conduct, shooting a bow and arrow. We have got to do better. These guys get paid just like everybody else. And quite frankly, making those kinds of statements, these statements coming from the NFL on these types of rulings that are clearly a mistake on their part, and not addressing it and saying that these guys made a mistake, and even when they do address it, you're not doing anything to change it. And the fact of the matter is, the league and its officials and this committee of officials, they got to stop with the lip service. The lip service has to stop, and we got to remove the elephant in the room and change this, and change it for the better, because that's what fans want to see. Change that's going to be seen by the eye. We thank you so much for listening to this show. If you want to get at us, like I've said before many times, shoot us an email to straightshootingst@gmail.com. If you want to hit me up directly, you can hit me up on Twitter at notbland21, and we'll talk shop and we'll talk it on this show. All right, guys, have a good night.